I have a prediction for the exact date of the peak or the top of the current real estate market for the foreseeable future. And that date is, did you see it? Well, don't worry, you don't have to rewind. I'm going to tell you the exact date that I think the market is going to top out in this video. And I'm also going to tell you the reasons why I think that's the case. But really quick before I do, please make sure you subscribe to this channel to stay up to date on Surrey and Fraser Valley real estate. And remember, there's one thing that will never peak, and that is your ability to say thank you for this information by clicking the like button. You clicking that like button is the best way to help me get this information out to more people and to let other people know that I think the top of the market's going to be. And of course, if you want to list your property before the bubble bursts, please make sure to book a call with me down below in the description with just a few simple clicks at a time that works best for you. But enough about that. Let's get on to the topic at hand about the market topping out. And the very first sign I'm seeing that is pointing towards the market topping out is the fact that on just February 1st, the active listings on the market was sitting at 2,030. And by February 4th, that number jumped to over 2,275, more than a 10% increase in just a couple of days. And currently, that number has increased again. Now, I think this is a very good thing for the market, but it is exactly what we expect to happen every spring. Every single spring, as the weather improves, so does the amount of listings currently for sale on the market. So as inventory comes on, there will be fewer and fewer bidding wars as there are more listings and their buyers' urges and their needs get satisfied. So less bidding wars in coming months than previous months. Well, that's a good thing. But now my second reason for thinking that the market is about to top out is that, let's face it, prices are stupid high. This is nothing new, and obviously everybody understands that, particularly my marketplace just outside of Vancouver, that prices are crazy high. But that crazy high has gotten stupid high within just the last 45 days. I like to think of any surge in the market much like trying to blow up a balloon. No, I don't mean bubble burst, I mean balloon. What I mean is when you're blowing up a balloon, you can't blow up the whole balloon in one breath. You take a breath, you blow up the balloon gets a little bit bigger, but you run out of breath. But then you take a moment, calm down a little bit, take another breath, and continue inflating the balloon after a short rest. Well, the market should be looked at much the same. After this last little surge or breath being pushed into the market's now going to likely take a second, recover before it inflates even more. And I believe with this last surge in the last 30 days of increases of more than 10%, I think the market is about to run out of steam or breath really quickly. But my next terrible analogy is one more of the froth on top of a beer. If you pour a beer too fast, the froth on top fills up the glass. And now you have to let that beer sit for a bit for that froth to go down. And now you end up with a beer that is not as full after the froth kind of comes off as if you had poured that beer just a little bit slower. I wouldn't mind a beer right now. And yeah, I think this market is pretty frothy. Now, the next reason I can see something happening in the future here as far as kind of topping out in the market has nothing to do with real estate whatsoever. And that fact is that the stock market has had its ups and downs lately. My view is that stocks and the stock market reflects a more immediate thought of where people are with their money and investing right now. So when it goes through ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs like it has over the last month, I feel that the uncertainty in the stock market right now is likely going to translate into the real estate market eventually. But the big difference there is that the stock market is much more liquid, and housing, well, it's not as easy to sell your house as it is your stock. So if indeed the stock market could be an indicator for what's going to go on in the housing market, it's likely going to happen down the road, not as immediately as the stock market. The next indicator that I have is related closely, I guess, to the stock market, and that is the fact that consumer spending is appearing to be dropping across all of North America. This is likely because as inflation continues to go out of control, people are more worried about spending money on essentials rather than non-essentials. So that's what they do. They start saving a little more and not spending on things that they didn't need to spend on. And obviously consumer spending also applies to the real estate market, because if somebody's worried about buying, I don't know, a new car or a new TV, they're probably also worrying that maybe buying a new home might stop them from being able to, I don't know, feed their kids next week. But one of my favorite measures that I use all the time, and this is just more of a feeling than anything else, is not actually a measure at all. And that measure is the seller's greed. But let me explain. Currently in my marketplace, we are seeing detached properties listed at, let's say, 1.7 million. those sellers are receiving offers at $2.1 to $2.3 million, numbers that we had never thought imaginable just a couple of months ago. And guess what? Now those sellers are getting greedy and those numbers aren't high enough. They're not accepting the offers. Then they're either canceling the listing on their agent and saying, no, I don't want to sell anymore, or they're increasing the price the next day to 2.5 or more. So my experience from the past tells me that when sellers get so greedy that even highest record sales are not high enough for them, well, we're getting close to the top. And the last reason I think that the market is showing signs that we are at a peak, and don't stop the video after I tell you what it is, because I'm also going to share with you, remember that exact date and what I think will happen after, is that the Bank of Canada can no longer ignore interest rate hikes that are needed. And as Tiff said last time,
the path forward for Canada is higher interest rates.
So interest rates are likely going to start increasing on March the 2nd. That is the date when the Bank of Canada is set to make their next rate announcement. And that is the day when I personally think that the market is going to peak. And that announcement, if the Bank of Canada chooses to make it, is going to start the slowing in the market. So I say March 2nd will be the top. My business coach, however, who has been involved in real estate since, I don't know, it was invented, says that he thinks it's going to take another 15 days for those effects to start to settle into the market. So that day, I guess, would be March 17th. So maybe I'm right, or maybe this whole thing is going to just keep going up. But I do know one thing for sure. The actual numbers of that slowdown are not going to be reflected in the market for at least 30, if not 90 days after. And what I mean by that is, remember that froth in the market or in your beer glass right now? It's likely going to take another 30 to 90 days after that to find out how much beer we have in the glass. Less beer when I'm done with the glass. Still thirsty. And on top of that, there is always a delay in any statistical reporting. So the numbers aren't really going to reflect this for the month to come, if I'm right. So now what the heck do you do with this information? Do you run out there and Chicken Little it up and say the sky is falling? Well, first off, for sure, don't just rely on me. You have to do your own research. I mean, this is just my best educated guess of what I think is going to happen through my previous experiences. Second, here's where I recommend that you should probably put yourself. You should evaluate your own personal situation and the strategy that you are picking to move forward with your purchase or sale. And if you're one of the people that has picked the strategy to purchase your next home first before selling your current home, I think you are the type of person that's going to be walking on very shaky ground in the very near future. Because when the market turns, you won't sell for as much as you thought. And someone, hopefully not you, is going to be left holding the bag of probably paying a little bit too much for their property, thinking the market was going to be going up, and now selling their property that they already owned for a little bit less than they had hoped. And hopefully that little bit less is not too little. Best way for you to make sure that you're not that person is to book a call with me right down below in the description right now so we can put a plan together for you. If you haven't already, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Check out the link below if you are a real estate agent looking to add video to your business, and use the code STEVE10 for 10% off any purchase. Make sure you check out another video while you're here on the channel, and we'll see you in a couple of days.